So this is like my 17th time recording this video. I actually got absolutely no sleep last night because I was just thinking about how great of a video I made and it had no audio. So I'm going to have to redo this. I actually have not been to sleep, genuinely. Uh, so let's go ahead and start. Might as well jump right into it. So, there's nothing to defend Alex from. This is not me being smug and passive aggressive while trying to let you know that I think your arguments are bad without saying it outright. Cause like most people do that type of stuff. That's not me. But all you did is reframe the question that he already answered in his video. 1 second. So yeah, he just reframed the question that Alex already asked. He correctly asked it and then also answered it in his video. And so Alex doesn't just concede this later, and it's a whole, investigation just to figure out what he means by what he thinks Alex has conceded here. I think after doing that comment section video, I think he's saying that Alex, right in this instance, is saying that Alex concedes that we do have some control over it, even though that's not at all what he's saying here. That's what he says in his comment section. He doesn't. Alex doesn't say that, and I already explained in that comment video, if you want to watch that, how that's not what Alex was saying. So Alex has already made the question about if we can control the mental processes behind the actions that we take, which are called wants in Alex's video, but CHAOS is calling them inhibitions, and that's okay. It's okay for him to do that, as long as he is operating with the assumption in mind, the knowledge that it's the same thing as want, okay? You're not going to introduce this bull crap that is like exactly the same as want. That would just be another competing desire, which would be, in the mom hitting case, inhibitions are fear of, her being hurt, feeling pain, bringing up past trauma, maybe just consequences that you face yourself after it. All those would be inhibitions, and that would be a want to not hit your mother, and then you'd have the want to hit it, which would include, regaining your free will in this circumstance probably, but I guess it could be for whatever other wants. You can come up with those yourself. So he just words it differently. Alex just words it differently. He's asking whether we can suppress what CHAOS would call a higher want, for example, the well-being of your mother, in favor of what CHAOS would call a lower want, which is, for example, to punch her. I need to make sure that my volume is... Yeah, I need to turn that up. Hopefully that's better. This higher want doesn't just be about protecting your mom. It could be fear. The specifics don't really matter. And then I said rewind to 3:16 because CHAOS might not have been talking about physical possibility. When he was talking about, could you actually stand up, go somewhere, and hit someone? Now, he obviously is illustrating, or at least, painting some sort of picture about physical possibility. There's absolutely no doubt that's what he's doing. But if we look at his argument, he does argue in a certain way that, he's not talking about physical possibility, and it really is just about controlling what you want. So, for example, like he says, I think for most people, and then says that whole thing about, physical possibility. But so that use of most people indicates he isn't talking about physical possibility, because obviously, if it's physically possible for one, it's going to be physically possible for the other, or for all. So I'll address it that way quickly. If this were true, it would tie into what I said earlier about how he thinks that asking the question, can we control our desires, is the same thing as asking, could you carry the act out? So he was saying, the question does not become, could you control your desire? And then maybe all he meant was in the sense that he was omitting this. He wanted you to know that this, in the sense that you get enjoyment, is the false part. And then he says, it's not about could you control your desire and get this. It's just about, and then instead of actually saying, could you control your desire and being straight up, he introduced this crap about, inhibitions, and stated it differently. And that confuses him. So he shouldn't have done it. But maybe we can treat it that way. Like he's saying that those are the same. In this case, it is very blatant, or it is begging the question. If by asking if we could actually stand up, go over, and hit someone, he is not talking about physical possibility, but instead operating with the assumption that being able to do so is the exact same thing as controlling your want, then yes, it's a very blatant fallacy. So do it yourself in your head. You can replace everything he says after actually with control your desire, because he says actually, and stand up, go over someone, and hit someone that you care deeply about. So if you're saying that that's the same thing as could you control your desire, okay, if you say that that's the same thing, then replace it with could you control your desire. When you say it and you replace it with, you get out with, I think for most people you wouldn't say it's completely out of the realm of possibility that you could actually stand up, go over, or that you could actually control your desire and make yourself want to hit your mother. That's it. Doesn't get more, circular and begging of the question than that. It is. You can't just be like, well, I think for most people, it's okay to say that you can actually control your desire. You can't do that. Or control your inhibitions or whatever you want to say. You can't do that. As I said before, this is back on the right, or he says right after, there's nothing stopping you from doing it other than your own internal inhibitions. And then that's the crucial issue here. I won't finish. So as I said before, this part is back on the right track. This is also another likely key indicator. I'm repeating myself. But I genuinely still think he was talking about physical possibility, even though it doesn't hold up, even if he isn't. I mean, his words clearly show he was. He either maliciously used it, I don't think so, to help him beg the question to convince himself, or he got caught up and convinced himself. I feel like it's the latter. This is a common theme in his video. He just restates the claim over and over again. And then I put P.S. This is totally different from just repeating yourself, which is what I will be doing a lot in these videos. Repeating myself. It's not the same. So if you want to come and be like, well, you're a hypocrite. You're saying he's restating your claim, but you repeat yourself all the time. It's not the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and save you the embarrassment now. So hold on one second. I need a swig of water. So to try and give the best position I think I can for him. If he had denied the premise that you only do things because you want to or are forced to, in favor of a position where you say that free will is the ability to act outside of your wants, then what he is saying here might make a little bit of sense. And I'm thinking this because he was talking about could we carry? It's not about if you could control your desire. It's about if you could carry the act out. Almost like it doesn't matter what we want, and we can do things that do not align with our wants at all. But you already agreed that everything we do is because we want to or are forced to. So basically you have two ways to look at this. If he is talking about physical possibility and is like, could you carry that act out? Then it is not consistent with his agreement that you only do things that you want. It's not about if you want to do it. It's about if it's possible to do it. Well, that's not true. That's not true because of how you agreed. And then if it's like I explained just a second ago, I think you get a picture here. I mean, what I explained a second ago, I'm not going to read it myself. I'm on page 6 of 22. Just freaking rewind if you need to. And I put in bold, I said, this is for when he says control our inhibitions. I guess I should wait until he says the word. Let me pause and see when he says that word. Or phrase is what I mean. He just said it, duh. I'm certain CHAOS does not believe this, but I just need to address a potential argument that may be brought forward by CHAOS defenders, One thing that you could argue is because he's saying it's the crucial issue here is actually about if we could control our inhibitions, and he's saying, they're going to slam their way and be like, well, it's actually not about he's not saying that they're the same. He's not saying that what was the other one? They're the same, and then he's not saying about the eliminate enjoyment part. He's just saying that there's a difference between inhibitions and desires. So let me go ahead and address that one real quick, so those pests don't come, tweeting at me. So one thing you could already read that, but he would then need to explain why he introduced this distinction. What makes him think that it is appropriate to slap the word inhibitions to Alex's example when he doesn't actually mean the same thing? Why does free will depend on controlling our inhibitions but not our desires? So what's the difference between that? Are you saying that we can control inhibitions and it's not even possible to control our desires? Are you saying that? If so, then why would you be saying that part? And if right now you're yelling and screaming at the top of your lungs, talking about, there's a difference between desire and inhibition. Like, I doubt. I'm kind of like imagining worst case scenario in every single circumstance, but like, you encounter worst case scenario in many circumstances. So, let me just go ahead and show that. There's a difference between the two. So a desire would be like the urge to punch someone who is upset at you, and then the inhibitions are the voice in your head telling you not to. I understand this, but there's no functional difference here. Chaos knows this because he is using it as a substitute. In this argument, both describe mental processes that influence our decisions. Alex is saying that we have no control over all of these. I gotta see. Is he saying, so when he said Alex concedes this before he makes his final argument, I was like, is he saying Alex conceded that we have some level of control? That's not true. So I'm going to play it until 4 minutes and 56 seconds. So if you have not seen CHAOS' video, just take a moment for yourself and think about what Alex just said. Right? If there is, I'm not going to explain. I'll explain this when I'm done reacting to chaos. But you just think about what that means yourself, and the implications of, anything that you think that you're doing freely. Anything that you think you are doing freely has a hidden want behind it. If you think that there's, which if you agree that you're always acting in accordance with your want, then Chaos should agree with this. This is all that he is trying to prove right here. But yeah, let me go ahead and play it. For example, come on, dudes. Okay, this is introduction. He is introducing this crap about if you could invoke this for another want. So, in Alex's example, he was talking about somebody having this choice between two flavors of ice cream, and he was saying that even though you think you might not be choosing, you're choosing vanilla when you really want a chocolate, all he is saying here is that even though you thought consciously, and guess what? Consciously, you're only aware of this decision right now, unless you, now, different people, and I'm not saying this is like, it's like leveling up or power levels or whatever the crap, this is corny, but like different people have different levels of consciousness. Like they think of their actions in like, and I'm not saying it necessarily means you're smarter either if you think of it in more layered. It just means at the very least that you have had this sort of thing explained to you before, and because that is often the only way to know about these sorts of things. But so you have these two options, and so what he's saying is if you think that you choose one because you didn't and it wasn't according with your want, he's saying it is. It could have been, I don't even remember if Alex said it because of free will, but yeah, it would have been if you don't, it would have been to gain your free will. I'm not putting this in great words here, but hold on. Let me rewind this. And he needs to stop saying this, like, if you can, that is not an accurate representation of what, and if you can revoke this, then you are acting in accordance with your want. So are you saying that, like, maybe, because he's saying this, like, highest desire crap later on in his video, like, you're saying sometimes that regaining your free will is the highest desire, and you're saying only sometimes you can have a higher desire than that? Are you saying that? It's extremely hard to just even understand what he thinks. Because, again, Alex never said anything about this. He's talking about you consciously being aware of two different options that you have. You think that you chose it. The only layer that you have is, ooh, I know my, tongue wants to taste some chocolate. But if I do not do that, or no, this is how you actually are thinking about it. Well, I might want chocolate. It might taste better for me, but if I don't pick it, even though it's what I actually do want to do, it is what I want to do. And I'm not acting in accordance with my want because I'm choosing vanilla. And that's the only way you're thinking of, and that would be the only way. That'd be where your level of consciousness ends. If that, he's saying that since you are aware of those, it doesn't matter about these infinite bull crap. You are aware of these two, and you were literally unaware of the fact that you didn't realize that you not proving to yourself that you had free will is going to mess with you the rest of the freaking day. So if you had not watched this video or watched Alex's part all the way through where he explained, like, well, if you do choose it, then you're just doing it because you're trying to prove yourself that you have free will. Then you would have, if you didn't watch that part, you would have chose the one that you didn't think you wanted, because again, you think you wanted this. That's where your conscious thought ends. You're not aware of literally anything else. That's what he's saying. Actions. There are. If you think that there is a reason that you did it and it's not, you're acting not in accordance with your want, all he's saying is you are acting in accordance with your want. He's not saying if you can revoke this, and if you can revoke this, and revoke this, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. He's not saying that. And even if he did say that, it kept going at so many different things, it does not imply that chain is infinite at all. It does not imply that in the slightest. And just because we're not infinite, we don't have the capacity for an infinite number of thoughts and influences. Therefore, there must be one singular one at the top. That's the dumbest thing in the whole entire video. Maybe not actually that. I mean, I'm definitely exaggerating, but it's not right. Right? I mean, he just so many unnecessary like additions, and just it's so confusing. That is actually pulling the strings behind. Like, stop doing that. You're going to save me and yourself as well, but especially me. Like, this was a chore to freaking sit through. I mean, I have a better time understanding Jordan Peterson than this video, by far, by a long shot. Let me read what I have down before I let him continue too much, because there's a lot right here. So, secondly, regardless of what Alex and I think, he is wrong in assuming the impossibility. I'm not going to read that. Especially if he does not believe that this highest desire is survival and reproduction. So, there might be a highest desire. If it is, it's survival and reproduction. It is, if there is one, it is something to do with pleasure. I don't know if maximizing your pleasure is the best way to describe it, as he does later on, and I will get to that. But it would be survival and reproduction if there is a highest desire. Which he doesn't think this. He doesn't think that's the highest one, because later on he thinks we can change our highest desire. Consider the decision to walk your dog in the park. On the surface, whether you follow through with this decision or not may seem like it is just due to if you have chosen to commit to your desire to stay healthy, or to have acted against it. Or like, you and your dog healthy, or promote your dog's well-being, mental wellness, whatever. Or, choose being lazy or whatever. However, this dilemma has never ever been this simple, not even once ever in human history. The desire to be present, enjoy nature, improve health, or more helpful to my case, just simply because of a conversation that they had earlier that day that stressed them out, are all factors that could be in play at the exact same time. If chaos tries to revoke these for some other want, then that want would 100% be about trying to feel some kind of enjoyment, as he says that it's not about earlier, and he's talking about it's not about maximizing our pleasure and stuff like that. If you are revoking these for another want, then the ones I just said, then it is something about enjoyment. So if you are thinking that this is a defense for him right now, dear viewer, who is the you are wrong, because he says, I just said that. In more cases than not, the actions you take stem from an unmemorable amount of details from your past, such as your upbringing and any traumas you may have faced, incalculably, you know what I'm trying to say, fluctuating brain chemistry, heavily influenced by even just the food you have eaten that day, so even just the food you ate that day, your personal and geological environment, think about that, and your social life, including like your friends and even your family is included in that, obviously. And of course, I'm not even doing justice to how complicated all of these actually are. Every single one of those is just, I cannot do justice to how. So many times it's possible to find a singular reason for taking an action. Say the same person that chose to wear or that chose the walk that day, chose to wear a black T-shirt on their walk because it is their birthday, and black is their favorite color. So, I guess their highest desire right now is either having the best birthday that they can have, or just feeling pleasure, because he only states feeling pleasure and suffering as the only two highest desires, even though he thinks that it's not all about enjoyment. Maybe he just thinks that he's saying that because you're going to change every single one of us is going to, or at least some of us are going to change to suffering being our highest desire at some point. And so therefore maximizing our pleasure, what he said about maximizing our pleasure holds, because sometimes we want to maximize our suffering. It's silly. I shouldn't be taking this as seriously as I am. But do they want to wear their but why do they want to wear their favorite color shirt on their birthday? Like, what possesses them to have that want in the first place? It's not, you think like, oh, it's my favorite color and it's my birthday and I'm doing things for myself. Why do you feel that way? And then I put, why is black their favorite color? But I'll get into that in just a second. The answers to these questions would be truthfully unanswerable. I might allow chaos to not answer the question about why is black your favorite color, as control over our tastes may be unrealistic to have, or to have to prove for this debate. But he does need to show, you can say that we have actual control over the desire to take action. And he needs to explain how this person's highest desire to stay in shape explains their desire, because he's talking about highest desires control everything. Or most everything you do. So he needs to explain how this highest desire to stay in shape explains their decision to wear black. Those questions need to be answered to complete the argument. But for clarity's sake, he just needs to explain how both actions tie into the highest desire. Period. Like, even if, because he says in his comment section, like, I don't remember if I said this in my last video. I said this in one of the videos. I don't know if I deleted it. But as the video goes on, he progressively gets less and less strict with how he defines these highest desires. And in the comments, I was shocked. It was even a looser interpretation of what highest desire meant. He's talking about having multiple highest desires at once. And I will go look at that. I will show you that. I think it's in my comment video anyway. But, so yeah, just go look at the comment video. But, yeah, that's crazy. Maybe you have like a highest desire in your life to be the best familial, father figure you can be, and then you have one to be the best student you can be, and then you have one to be the best friend you can be, and like these highest desires, and like I guess you have to juggle them all day and be like, make the conscious desire to, and obviously we make conscious decisions. I meant to say decision instead of desire just a second ago. But this is just ridiculous. But for clarity's sake, I already put that. He must explain anything to one desire can be the guide behind most of our actions, when there's almost never even one single desire that would explain even just one action. Like I just explained with going for a walk. There are all these different desires. And yeah, you can group them all under feeling pleasure. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Is that very helpful to your argument, though? No, it's not. Because no one maximizes their suffering. No one's trying to maximize their suffering as you claim that they do, and yet have yet to give an actual example where someone would do that. I have given examples in my Google Doc. I don't think I've gotten to them yet. I will. So I feel he tried to address this first question when he said that not but most of our actions can be explained by the highest desire. So this is what I was just saying. It makes sense that the highest desire, like getting in shape, may not explain actions as mundane as picking out a t-shirt. But he never explains these in the video. Rather, he just writes off the question if your highest desire influences all your actions or just some of your actions as totally unimportant. it's not unimportant, and it makes this video 80 times harder to address his argument, or it makes it 80 times harder to address his argument, as he could come back and reinterpret his own video to mean whatever he freaking wants to. Something like trying to show more kindness is not something as mundane as wearing a black shirt, yet it would not be explained by someone's highest desire to be the smartest politician that there is. So you see what I'm saying? Even if we don't say that the highest desire to get in shape explains the pick for a black shirt, there are big, because it's so mundane, and it's like, well, that you're not being fair, steady dog. You got to be more fair. Okay, we'll be fair. Kind, the thing to the want in your head to show more kindness to people is not the same, and can be seen as contradicting someone's desire to be the smartest and best politician that there is. Because a lot of times politicians have to, get their way, have to say things that, and maybe that's not the total truth. A lot of times politicians, conform. But you see what I'm saying here. That part doesn't matter. So this would explain their sleep schedule and familial commitment and things like that. But their highest desire for being the smartest politician wouldn't explain anything to do with how they treat people with kindness. Or, in some people's case, it does. But what I'm saying is, I guess, now that he introduced this crap about there being multiple highest desires, he just, I need to figure out what exactly he needs to start addressing, if that's the route he wants to take. Really, all it just needs to be is, because you need to get rid of this crap about, well, there might be highest desires, or, one or two, and they might control this X amount of things in your life. They may look like this, they may be this. Cut all of that crap out. Cut it all out. Delete it all. The question is about, can you control what it is that you want? And your argument is that, well, there's one at the top and you can negate it. And he says choose, and by just using the word choose and having that connotation behind it, that like free will, look, we chose something different, that is begging the question. Stop using the word choose. Try your very hardest to stop using the word choose and see how difficult it actually becomes to say something that actually makes any sense. There are countless examples that I'm sure you're thinking of right now, or maybe you're not actually, of things that you do in your life trying to make progress in different areas. Again, you can still deny this and say most of your actions can be still tied to a single desire, but at this point you are getting extremely fundamental. If this is truly the case, didn't I just read this? It's about you don't wear a certain shirt because it's embarrassing. Oh yeah, it's survival and reproduction, so I didn't read this. You don't wear a certain shirt because it's embarrassing. You make your car payment on time. You study super hard after the you study super hard during the semester after you failed a class. See how, you sit at home and eat donuts because of their abundance of sugars, fats, and salts. Or you go to the gym instead and truly do increase your survivability by working out and staying in shape. Now, do you see how I actually said something that made some sense there? If the highest desire is survival and reproduction, it can account for all of those things that I just listed. He is being super vague, talking about, well, if this guy chooses to suffer, then he only chooses to suffer because he wanted to suffer. And that is how he maximizes pleasure. And all these, hypotheticals and scenarios that, well, this is what it would actually, this is how my world would look if it were true. Look, this is how it would look if it were true. And never explains how it was true, or, explains how a highest desire like suffering could account for anything. And instead of just saying, well, some people suffer just to suffer. See, I told you free will exists. People are not, their want is to, and if their want is to suffer and they act to suffer, then that, but we'll get into this crap later. If there's one thing guiding most or all of our actions, it is this mechanism that has been developing for billions of years. A system whose very way of functioning is through its reward system. Now think about that. I mean, if you give heroin to rats, they neglect food and sex. They will starve to death. People with depression begin to not only grow sluggish, lazy, and unmotivated to get anything done, but they also lose interest in their own hobbies as well. They are unmotivated to do anything. This is because they experience lower dopamine levels in key areas of the brain, like the nucleus accumbens and the prefrontal cortex. Of course, I had to look this crap up. Unlike, Chaos will tell you some crap and be like, he'd probably tell you that he figured it out himself. Discussing the ineffable or whatever. Let's see. This is because they experience a lower I said that. This chemical drives so many of our actions, it is insane. You have most definitely heard of all kinds of things about how this chemical, not about how, about this chemical and the entire communities of people that try to help each other deal with just how much it controls their lives. But Chaos does not think this is the highest desire, because apparently we can change our highest desire. I'll explain that. I think that he tried to address the second question, and you're going to have to do your own, figure out what I mean by first and second question. You should know what I mean by first question for my explanation. But he tried to address the second one later on in the video when he said that it is possible to act against and change our highest desire. Even though he assumes that there is a highest desire and therefore does not address at all how I mentioned our behaviors are more complex than a dilemma for and against a single highest desire, it would at least explain how he accounts for having different goals throughout our entire lives. What's that? So this would at least account for it would at least explain how he accounts for us having different goals throughout our lives. But even this falls flat due to how he has defined an ultimate desire. If we can change and act against our highest desire, then there is obviously a reason why we are doing so. And since we have revoked this for another want, then that means that there is a desire above this one. Then that is what it comes above it. So you're going, well, we're finite beings, and we can change this top one. So if we change this top one, then that means what Alex said about that we always, even though you agree that it's like he's trying to focus on this one thing that Alex said, even though he's supposed to be agreeing with it, that everything we do is in accordance to what we want to do. And even though you're probably going to be like, well, I do agree with that, and what I'm saying it still can be accounted in a worldview where you think that people only do what they want. That's not true. If you're saying that we have a highest desire and you can act outside of that highest desire and change it to something else, and there's nothing else above it, there's something out here, then that means you have control. You are begging the question. That is what that is. So yeah, look, I need to pause the video here or end it here and start in just a second because it's at 40 minutes now. So let me go ahead and do that.